Hamlet, Act 4, Scenes 2 and 3, and Act 5, Scenes 1 and 2. In these scenes, Hamlet waxes philosophical about death and the nature of things. He speaks, "Here's fine revolution, if we have the trick or the ability to see it." What revolution Hamlet's speaking of is the emergence of atomism of the 17th century, which was founded on the Roman philosopher Lucretius and his great teacher Epicurus. Both Shakespeare and Lucretius wrote poetically about nature, and both had an instinctive grasp on the physical operations of nature. What was said of Lucretius could also be said of Shakespeare. Cicero said of the poems, "They exhibit many flashes of genius," and Virgil said, "Happy is he who has discovered the causes of things, and has cast beneath his feet all fears and the unavoidable fate." Lucretius and Shakespeare uphold the theory that all matter is composed of tiny particles that cannot be destroyed, and that the world is an ongoing sequence of atomical events. It is entirely random. It is a blind process. It is simply the binding and unbinding of atoms, which gives rise to our world. In Hamlet, Shakespeare philosophizes about the basic nature of these tiny particles and examines the range of phenomenon associated with them. Hamlet speaks, "Why may not imagination trace the noble dust of Alexander till he find it stopping a bunghole or opening in a cask? Imperial Caesar, dead and turned to clay, might stop a hole to keep the wind away. Oh, that that earth which kept the world in awe should patch a wall to expel the winter's flaw." Shakespeare may have reasoned in similar ways with Lucretius on the nature of things, but they conclude differently when it comes to the belief in divine intervention. Lucretius thought that with the description of the world, one according to physical principles, well, that proves that the destiny of the universe is determined by chance encounters with atoms, not the divine intervention of the Roman gods. Lucretius argued that storms and earthquakes are just atomical interactions, and that thunderbolts are not the weapons hurled by Zeus. Lucretius wanted to free people from having supernatural beliefs. But for Shakespeare, there is a belief in divine intervention. Hamlet speaks, "There is a divinity that shapes our ends, rough hew them how we will." Lucretius and Shakespeare also differ when it comes to the nature or existence of the soul. Lucretius wrote, "Death, no worries." For Lucretius, he argued that it is to make a conceptual blunder of supposing yourself present to regret and bewail your own non-existence or death. Yet this is precisely what folly Shakespeare brilliantly entertains in the famous graveyard scene. When the gravedigger throws up yet another skull, Hamlet cries, "There's another! Why may not that be the skull of a lawyer? Where be his quiddities now, his quillets?" Meaning sharp, hair-splitting subtleties or distinctions. His cases, his tenures, meaning titles to property, and his tricks. Why does he suffer this rude knave to knock him about the sconce or head with a dirty shovel, and will not tell him of his action of battery? Humor aside, Hamlet does speak of a fear of death in his to be or not to be speech, when he speaks that we rather bear those ills we have than fly to others that we know not of. Lastly, Lucretius wrote of how worlds come and go, our own included, and that our world is no more than a transient amalgam of atoms. In Shakespeare's The Tempest, he writes, "The cloud-capped towers, the gorgeous palaces, the solemn temples, the great globe itself, yea, all which it inherit, shall dissolve. We are such stuff as dreams are made on."